I assume science contradicts Christianity. Am I right?
I am sorry, but you are not right on this. Science fits marvelously well into Christianity.
Yes. Christianity so much embraces science. There is no contradiction.
I don't understand how you can say this. Science is based on logic and fact. Christianity is based on faith. How can they not contradict?
We agree that Christianity, at the very source of explaining things in and around us, is faith.
Yes, we agree that, at the very source of understanding, is faith in God who created the universe, for the purpose to manifest His character and attributes, and for His creation to know Him.
So you agree that Christianity is by faith, and not logic. This is unlike science.
I agree that, at the source of Christianity is faith. But downstream from this foundational faith, is science, logic and facts. You know, people who think they believe in science alone, in their understanding of things, in and around them, is actually no different.
Oh? Really? Tell me how this is so.
Okay. You understand science well, right?
Yes. To some degree.
Good, as you know. At a foundational level, science is a discipline, using demonstrated truths, or facts, that uncovers natural laws that govern the properties and behavior of substances, subatomic particles, matter, and energy, in our world, and across the universe. Let me ask you, why do matter and energy obey these laws? Why? Where do these laws come from?
I don't know. Maybe it comes from a higher scientific law that overarches multiple laws, and we have not discovered this higher law yet.
Okay. But where does that higher scientific law comes from?
Maybe another yet higher law.
So, where do we stop?
I don't know. We just keep going?
Even if we find a super-scientific law that overarches all other scientific laws, we need to ask, where does this super-scientific law comes from?
Maybe this super-scientific law just exists.
So, if you believe that this super law just exists without scientific evidence, does it mean you believe in it by faith, not logic and science?
Okay. I am not saying I believe in a super-scientific law. I just have not thought about this enough. I know where you are going with this. Believing that a super-scientific law just simply existed when there was no universe, and then creating the universe, is believing in this by faith, not science, nor logic. Believing this, or believing in a creator God, are both by faith.
Yes, agree. Ultimately, people who adopt science, alone, as a means for explaining life, do so by treating science as religious faith. Christianity believes that God put scientific laws in place to govern the processes in nature. The important point is not whether God put one scientific law, or many scientific laws in place. The important point is, God put these scientific laws in place with an ultimate purpose, which we described earlier. These scientific laws do not traverse the universe aimlessly.
Scientific laws exist to support the purpose of the universe, which is for creation to know God's marvelous intelligence, wisdom, and power, amongst other amazing attributes.
Okay. I am good with what you have said so far. In short, you are saying that people who believe in science alone to explain things in and around us cannot claim logical superiority over those who believe in Christianity, as both, at the very source, are by faith.
Yes, very well put, indeed.
Let us now go a little deeper, to look at what is perceived as science, by many, but is actually faith, not science. Let us do this by looking at the structure of our body. Our body is estimated to have about 30 trillion cells. These cells have to come together in a particular way for our body to function.
There are many different types of cells. Let us look at nerve cells, in our brains, as an example. There are 86 billion nerve cells in our brains, which have to come together in a particular way for us to have memory, emotions, and cognitive abilities. You can see the components in this nerve cell, which is an extremely sophisticated factory, and requires information to operate. You know, on the average, there are 100 trillion atoms, all in the right places, to make a cell work. Let's look at two cell components in the nerve cell: the DNA molecule and the cell membrane. DNA resides in the cell nucleus and stores information for the cell to operate. As you can see, atoms in the DNA molecule are assembled in a precise manner to store the right information. Otherwise, we can become very sick. There is no science that can explain how atoms can come together to form the DNA to store information for the cell.
The cell membrane is what is colored in dark orange. It is the outer covering for the cell. It surrounds all the internal components. It is what makes a cell a cell. This is a cross-section of the cell membrane. Atoms are assembled together to form molecules, like the phospholipid molecule. Numerous phospholipid molecules then come together to form the outer and inner layers of the membrane. There is no science that can explain how these atoms and molecules can come together to form the cell membrane, to allow a cell to exist. Without cell membrane, there is no cell. Without cells, there is no life of any kind.
There is no science today how 100 trillion atoms can come together to form even one cell. There is no science today how 30 trillion cells can come together to form our body. There is no science today to explain any life form on Earth.
But we might find the scientific laws behind all this in the future.
Perhaps. And we should be open to possibilities. But the point is, today, people who believe that 3 octillion atoms can come together by themselves to form life, without the existence of any scientific laws, is believing in this by faith, not science.
Okay. Fair enough. I suppose, again, popular thinking on life cannot claim logical superiority over Christianity.
Yes, agree. If people want to be fair-minded about all this.
Also, as we discussed before, even if we find scientific laws behind all this in the future, there is no explanation on where these laws come from.
Yes. Let us now look at what one of the top scientists in the world today say about all this. His name is Professor James Tour. James Tour is Professor of Chemistry, Professor of Computer Science, and Professor of Materials Science and Nanoengineering. Professor Tour's deep understanding of the chemistry of atoms and molecules allowed him to be the founder of many new discoveries and inventions at an atomic and molecular level. In fact, Professor Tour has over 700 research publications, over 140 patent families, with a total of about 103,000 citations. Professor Tour is a Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, was awarded the Royal Society of Chemistry's Centenary Prize for Innovations, was inducted into the National Academy of Inventors in 2015, was ranked in the top 0.004% of the 7 million scientists in 2019, and was named among the 50 most influential scientists in the world today.
Wow. Very impressive credentials.
With his deep understanding of chemistry and nanoengineering, as well as atoms and molecules in cell structures, Professor Tour says this: life should not exist anywhere in our universe. Life should not even exist on the surface of the Earth.
Yet life exists on Earth. Essentially, Professor Tour is saying that science has no, absolutely zero, explanation for life on Earth.
This is eye-opening. How come people like myself have been made to believe as if science is close to understanding the origin of life? As if science can explain everything.
You know? I think Professor Tor shares your same frustration when he said, "How far afield we have gone in projecting to the public our knowledge of life's origin."
So, again, people who, today, believe in science alone for explaining life, is believing in this by faith, not science. Because there is no science behind this. Okay. You said earlier that science fits marvelously well into Christianity. Can you please tell me more?
Sure. But let me finish this by stating the obvious. There is nothing wrong with science. Science is beautiful. I love science. But people must separate what is science and what is not science. To give you more, we need to explain deeper the purpose of creation by God. You know, human creators create objects of creation with a purpose. So, it should not be surprising to us that God created the universe with a very clear purpose. God created the universe with the purpose to manifest His attributes and for His creation to know Him. When the universe, and all in it, is at its final destiny, all people throughout history will know and acknowledge God as amazingly glorious.
God's attributes of power and wisdom, of love and kindness, of patience, of grace and mercy, of faithfulness, of uncompromising purity, total rejection of any sin, of sovereignty over all, including those who reject Him, of justice, of righteous anger, and just wrath, and of perfect balance in expression, will be all clearly demonstrated through human lives by the time of judgment of humanity. The amazing attributes of God will be acknowledged and accepted by everyone He created throughout history.
Arguably, the most important statement in the entire universe is this. So I will say it again. God created the universe to manifest His glorious attributes and for His creation to know Him. This statement allows us to understand the purpose of everything in the universe. Mankind's scientific discovery of anything, including scientific laws, tells of an amazingly powerful, wise, and intelligent God of creation. This is one element in God's manifestation of His glorious attributes. With no explanation for the existence of these scientific laws, mankind should be in awe and humbled by the God who created these elegant laws that govern natural processes. The existence of these elegant laws allows us to, at least, know of a powerful and wise God of creation, if not knowing God in a personal way as well.
Let us now look at what Sir Isaac Newton said about a thinking man and God. You know, Sir Isaac Newton is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time, and is founder of many scientific laws. Newton said,
"He who thinks half-heartedly will not believe in God. But he who really thinks has to believe in God."
Wow. I did not know the greatest scientist of all time believed in God.
Yes. If we pause and think deeply about science and the things in and around us, we will all agree that there are much, much, much more sophistication in things that science cannot explain, compared to those that it can. As said before, science has no chemistry to explain the very existence of life. Science cannot explain why we long to love and be loved. Why hope for something better motivates us. Why we understand and cry for justice. Why we are inspired by greatness. Why good relationships are healthy for us. Why we have an innate sense of right and wrong. Why we feel sadness and joy. And so on, and so forth.
Even if one day, science has the scientific laws, the chemistry, to explain some of these how questions, science will not be able to explain the why questions, like it cannot explain the existence of scientific laws. Science cannot explain why we have all these attributes and abilities. But Christianity can. Mankind have all these particular attributes and abilities, so that mankind can comprehend and know the attributes of God, according to the purpose of creation. Likewise, mankind's cognitive abilities to discover and comprehend scientific laws should point us to the extremely intelligent God, who created scientific laws to govern nature. Science, which is a reflection of the intelligence of God, fits perfectly into Christianity, to serve to glorify the amazing God of creation. So, there you have it. Science absolutely does not contradict, but fits perfectly well in Christianity.
Central to God's manifestation of His attributes is His amazing manifestation of love, grace, and mercy through the sacrifice of His Son, Jesus Christ, for sinners who believe in Him. You know, when the purpose of creation comes to a finale, all human souls, throughout history, will be re-embodied and will acknowledge the glorious God of creation. Those who know God personally will be with God. Others will know of God, but not personally. They will be away from God. Either way, all people throughout history will acknowledge the true, sovereign, and glorious God of creation, thus fulfilling the purpose of creation.
Okay. I think I understand what you said. Thanks. You guys have extended my framework of thinking. I now have a lot to think about. Thanks again.
It's our pleasure. If you are interested in answers to other big questions in life, you may be interested in this series here. The links for these videos are found below.
All the best. Bye for now.